Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Lanes podcast. Before we get into the podcast, I just want to talk to you about our new sponsor that's come on board, Books and Gifts Direct. Books and Gifts Direct is Australia's largest direct seller of books and gifts. They sell their products from lunchrooms and reception desks and are in more than 25,000 workplaces across Australia. These workplaces include schools, childcare centres, businesses, hospitals, community centres and other corporate entities. Their books and gifts sell up to 70% off recommended retail price. And as the leading direct seller of books and gifts across Australia, they have a strong buying power, and without the overheads of a shopfront, they can afford to pass on significant savings. So if you want to take a look more at this, the website's going to be below in the comments section, or you can go www.booksgiftsdirect.com. Thanks for listening, and let's get into the show. Yes, back again today. Today is going to be a podcast just on the Lakers, the whole summer of the Los Angeles Lakers and what they did and what my opinions are about this, because this is a really big topic and I wanted to do a pretty decent one just by itself on this. So let's get into it. You're now listening to another episode of the Lanes podcast. All right, back again. So this podcast, as I said, on the Lakers, what we're going to first do, we're going to first break down their additions, okay? We're going to break down the Russell Westbrook trade. You know, that's a massive trade. And then also what I think LeBron can get out of this roster, because it's a pretty difficult roster to picture, you know, him playing with, because as we know, he loves to be around shooters. So this team at the moment doesn't have a heap of shooters, but, you know, I'll talk more into it. So first off, their additions, they've had a heap of them, and they've had some really good additions on the vet minimum salary. And, you know, LeBron's really good at getting people to come play for him, you know, or play with him, you know, because as you look at it, Carmelo Anthony's on a veteran minimum, Trevor Ariza the same, you got Kent Bazemore on the same, we have Wayne Ellington's come on the same, Dwight Howard's come back, you know, so we've got him on the team too. You know, they've got Malik Monk to take the vet minimum, and I believe Kendrick Nunn took the mid-level exception for them. I think it was between him or Patty Mills, and personally I would have taken Patty Mills, but that's neither here or there. Apart from that, you know, they've got Marcus Gasol that's going to come back. Jared Dudley's still a free agent for them. He might re-sign with them. I wouldn't be shocked if he signs with them. Kostas Antetokounmpo's gone over and signed with a team in Greece, so congratulations to him. You know, they have signed McClung to a guaranteed deal, I believe, so that's going to be pretty exciting. You know, he's a young, fast, exuberant player, so I think that's a good little sign, because as you look at it, they're a pretty young team right now, and they don't really have a lot of youth. Like their youngest player is age-wise Talen Horton-Tucker, and I think he's 21 off the top of my head. Apart from like that, that's probably going to be a rotational player. You know, 21 years old. So like pretty, you know, it's not super young. So like you look at it, I think they average age of 32 years old. It's pretty old. But like the way I look at it, the age-wise, good teams usually have veterans playing for them that win the comp, right? Like you look at, you know, teams that have won the comp in the past couple of years, you know, I'll kind of exclude the Bucks only because Giannis is 26, and I think Giannis is in that sweet spot of where he's still young enough, but to not enter his prime, where like the next 3 to 4 years could be his prime, and that's pretty scary if you ask me, because like he's already got 2 MVPs, you know, so like I reckon you hit your prime at like 28, 29. You know, a lot of these players are, obviously they're past it, but like Anthony Davis is just entering his prime, you know, so I'm pretty excited to see what he does. You know, hopefully he's not street closed this year. You know, and that's just what Charles Barkley says to say that he doesn't play. Hopefully he can play, be healthy. You know, because if he can be healthy, I think he can be really... I don't think he can be an MVP candidate because there's just too many players on their team that, you know, will demand the ball. But I think he can be a really dominant piece. I think he could be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I definitely believe he could be that, because I think he's going to play a lot more 5 now. And that's something that's much better for the Lakers, if you ask me. Him playing at the 5 is a much, much better fit. You know, especially now that you look at it, Marcus Gasol, I don't expect him to play any minutes really in this upcoming season. Dwight Howard, he can do a job for you at the backup, you know, as a backup 5. He's proven to do that. But, you know, looking at him, he hasn't really he's just doing his role now, and I'm happy with him to do that. That's fine. So they're not. But on saying that, they're not a very big team. So they've got three bigs there. You've got Carmelo, who might play a bit of 4, Trevor, who will play a bit of 4, but they're pretty undersized. 6'8", 6'9". So they're not huge. LeBron, I'm assuming, will play a bit more 4, and like that point forward position. But yeah, you look at it, not a heap of size, but I don't think that's a problem at all, because they're not really going to come against a team that's super big. Like the biggest team they'll probably verse is Phoenix when they have DeAndre Ayton in the center position. But I think Anthony Davis can do a much better job of what Giannis did, which is crazy to say. But I think AD is a bit better of a defender, especially as marking bigs than Giannis is, because he's a bit leaner, he's a bit faster, Giannis, but AD can probably take that hit a bit better. So like you look at it, there's not a lot of big teams that they're going to verse. I want to get the elephant out of the room, and I want to talk about Mr. Westbrook and what I think of this trade. I think this trade can be destined to be really, really good or really bad. And like the way I look at it, I'll go negative first to get it out of the way. The way I think it could be really bad is he can't really shoot the ball, okay? And you look at what LeBron needs. LeBron needs shooters, right? LeBron needs shooters around him at all times, really. So I'm going to be interested to see what he does there. Also, he demands the ball in his hands a lot, and you've seen it. Him playing with KD, Paul George, most recently Brad Beal. He can kind of take the ball out of their hands at times, and that's not a bad thing at all, because sometimes Russell Westbrook can be in a really he can be on a really good role offensively. He can go get buckets, he can run the lanes well, but he can't be your first option to score winning a competition, and we've seen that he's obviously not going to be. I think this year AD might be the first option for them, and that's what I think would be the best option for them, is have AD be that first option. But yeah, the Westbrook trade, I don't know. The positives of it is you have a big 3 now. I would say that's a big 3. But then again, like you can look at it in a basketball purist point. Is it really a big 3? And you can argue for both sides. I'll say market wise, it's a big 3. I'll say Rob Pelinka to save his job and to get LeBron to try to get another chip. It's a good move, because first him and Westbrook are buddies. They like each other. They're really happy, to be playing with each other. So I think that's a one big positive for Pelinka. But like the positives, I think they will outweigh the negatives. And one signing that's going to be really good for them, I think, is Wayne Ellington, because I look at it, he's their best shooter right now, and they need shooting. Like you look at their starting 5 projected, you'd have LeBron at the 3, AD at the 5. I'd have Carmelo at the 4, and then you've probably got Wayne Ellington at the 2, and then Taylor Horton Tucker maybe playing that 1 or 3, depending on what LeBron does. Sometimes Taylor can bring the ball up and initiate it, or you could have Kendrick Nunn starting. So maybe either Kendrick Nunn or Taylor Horton Tucker would be the 6th man. But, you look at that, that's not a lot of shooting. I think Kendrick Nunn will develop into a real lethal shooter this season, especially because he's going to get a lot of point-blank shots from the corner, 45 on top of the key when there's defensive breakdowns. Because as we know, LeBron's really good at getting into the paint, getting 2 feet in the key, and he's able to create after that. He's not just looking to score, he can create out of that. So I really think that's going to be a positive, And then, sorry, what am I talking about? Westbrook will start at the point guard. I don't know what I'm talking about. No, so you have Wayne Ellington, would start at the 2, LeBron, Carmelo, and then you would have AD. So you look at it, Westbrook has to develop into a shooter, and he's not really he's not a consistent shooter. He's a consistent shooter from the mid-range, but he's not really a consistent shooter from 3-point. So he needs to develop that. I think you'll see a bit more of Kendrick Nunn playing at the point. And then you can have Westbrook at the 2, Wayne Ellington at the 3, LeBron at the 4, AD at the 5. I think they need to go get at least 1 or 2 more shooters on this team. And like you look at free agents right now, there's not a heap of them right now. But like if I'm the Lakers, I'm probably looking at I'm looking at least offering JJ Redick a contract and seeing, what he's up to, what he feels like, does he want to have another year around, have another crack? Another player they can look at too, and who could take a cheaper contract could be Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart, he plays good, solid defense. He's not the greatest defender, but he has a crack. You can look at him. He can shoot the ball pretty consistent. He's played with LeBron before, so he knows what it's like to play with LeBron. He knows the ins and outs, I would say the bare minimum necessities you need to have for LeBron. Like you need to be ready to go at any time. But I think they're not done, and that's one big thing. Teams don't realize they're not done in acquiring more players, acquiring more talent, and they just need shooters and some of them that can play D. Another player that I would look at, and the Lakers had him 2 years ago, Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley could be a really nice piece for them. He's a great defender. He's probably a top 5 defender as a perimeter defender, and it's funny to me that he hasn't been picked up by any team right now, because any team that's looking to contend could really use his potential, use his talents, right? He can defend really well. He can guard 1, 2, or 3, I'd say. I'd say him guarding the 4 is a bit of a stretch right now, and he probably can't really guard a 5, but he can defend in 3 solid positions. He can get out, he can bust the lanes, and he can shoot it pretty consistently. And he's been a part of teams that have been good. And that's something that GM like Rob Pelinka will look at. He's been successful. He's been at successful clubs. He's been on successful teams. He knows what it takes, and he's a journeyman right now. He's not looking to get a massive contract. He's looking to stay in the league. Maybe take a vet minimum now to sign a bigger contract later. Because as we know, he kind of did that with the Lakers. Played really good there, and then got a 2-year, I think $8 million or $9 million deal at the Heat, and the last option was a team option. He didn't even see out the contract with the Heat. The Heat traded him to the Rockets for Victor Oladipo, Kelly Olynyk, and Avery Bradley, and I believe a first for Victor Oladipo. So you kind of do that trade if you're the Heat, but he didn't see out the contract, so he could be another piece. If I look at it, I'd probably go sign Avery Bradley, maybe JJ Redick, and then maybe if I'm looking at one more free agent pitch, you're the Lakers, right? So you can kind of get anyone really. Have a punt maybe at trying to get Larry Markkinen. I don't know. You've basically traded everything now. What's the point? What's the point in not trading another first rounder or a couple second rounders if you have it? I don't even know what their picks look like right now, but I know they don't have a heap. Maybe trade for him. Maybe just get him to come off the bench and do a role for you. He could be an exciting piece for you. But it's funny because the fit of this team, and I want to talk about more the fit. Who's going to be that player that's going to fit with LeBron, AD, Carmelo, and Westbrook? As I said, I think Wayne Ellington will get a lot of minutes, but I don't think he'll be that finisher. And I think they can definitely look to do trades in the trade deadline. A player that I think could be a decent piece for them, and it's pretty funny, that they haven't looked at him yet. But I know I'm Australian, and I'm always rooting for Aussie players, but Dante Exum could be an option. He's not a shooter per se, and he would tell you he's probably not a great shooter, but he plays hard, he plays physical, he plays fast. And I just think that's something that the Lakers need. They need a bit more youth. They need a bit of players that have a bit of mongrel, a bit of dog in them. And you look at their team right now. Russell Westbrook probably epitomizes a person that has a dog, has hustle, has a bit of aggro in him. But apart from that, you don't really see a heap of other players that have it. Dwight Howard had it back in the day. Kendrick Nunn's a bit of a dog. He goes hard, but it's a bit of a team that's just a bunch of really good players, and then two great players, and then a really really good player. So it's the fit wise is a bit different for me. So I think that they're not done getting pieces, it's troubling for me because you could have gotten JJ Redick right now for the vet minimum. Why don't you just look at getting him? At least he can shoot the piss out of the ball and he'll play well with LeBron. I would have rather them sign him than them sign some Kent Bazemore, because apparently there was a topic or report coming out that Kent Bazemore's going to get a lot of minutes. I don't see him getting a heap of minutes on this team, and I think he's a good player, but I don't see it. Who's he going to take minutes over? You look at this team, he's a bit of a wing, right? He's a bit of a wing. He wants to be a main player. Their wings right now, LeBron, right? Wayne Ellington, Taylor Horton Tucker. If Wesley Matthews is still on this team, is he still on this team? He's on the roster right now, but I'm not too sure if he's a free agent. If he's still on the team, then they probably don't need to go get another player. But I don't know if he's on the team, to be quite honest with you. I'm not too sure. If he is, that's not a bad. That's probably a piece that's kind of like a JJ Redick, Avery Bradley type. Is a national? Yeah, he's still on their team. Okay. No. 3 contending teams who should try to sign Wesley Matthews. No, he's not on there at all. So, yeah, no. Maybe look to re-sign Wesley Matthews. I could be wrong there. Yeah, he's still a free agent. So, yeah, like they need to go get pieces. At least Wesley Matthews on that team. He knows what he's doing, right? But, yeah, no. For me, the fit's going to be the most fun and the most intriguing storyline the NBA reporters will write the whole season. I'll probably talk about it a bit more, but, like, it is troubling. And, I came on here, just free whim, just wanted to wing it about the Lakers because, like, it's better for me to talk about them like that because, like, they're just, I don't know what they're going to be. I don't think they'll be the first seed in the West, only, like, just because, like, I think, like, someone like the Jazz or the Suns might get that again. And, like, that does not mean that they are the best team in the West at all. Like, we saw the Jazz get it this past season, and they got beat by the Kawhi-less Clippers, right? So, like, just because you get the first seed doesn't mean anything. Like, especially with this team, like, they're an older team. We get all the jokes, this, that. But they probably will look to rest LeBron a bit. They probably will look to rest AD. Maybe not play him in back-to-backs or 3 games out of 5. Maybe play him 1 or 2. And, like, a lot of people are like, oh, that's wrong. It's not the right thing to do. But it's just you're doing that to make sure that you don't get your players injured. When Nick Wright, he went on whatever he's on. I think it's First Take. Not First Take. It's the one with Shannon Sharp and that. And he said, the player that rolled LeBron's ankle, he called him a bum and he did this, this trash play. I'm like, dude, like, shut up. Like, he's not going out to injure people. Like, and it pissed me off because, like, don't say that about someone because what if this guy came back at you and you saw him in public, you probably wouldn't say anything to him, and it's just annoying, but, like, I'm getting off topic there, but, like, my main point is they're going to take rest. So I don't think they'll be the first seed. I think they're definitely going to make, if they have this team now, if this is the team they have now, just this team, I think the Warriors would beat them. That's one team I think that would beat them. And that could be calling me biased, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. I think the Warriors can beat this team. LeBron's always had great battles with the Heat. I mean with the Warriors. So I think that's one team that could beat them. I think a team, if healthy, Denver could give them a really good shot. And the Clippers, I don't think Phoenix could beat them. I think AD would really control DeAndre Ayton really well. But then again, who's going to guard Devin Booker? That's a big question. You can't really have Westbrook on him because he's not that much of a defender. So for me, if I'm the Lakers, like, the more I think about it, you got to go sign Avery Bradley, like, because at least he can defend, and you can leave him on the floor. Maybe that could be Taylor Horton-Tucker that has a shot at him too. But, like, the way I look at it, they still need another guard. But, like, I would say right now, if I was to bet who would come out of the West right now, I'd say Golden State, and I'd be pretty confident in that right now. There's the Kawhi-less Clippers, the Jamal Murray-less Denver Nuggets. The Lakers are a bunch of players. They're not a team right now. And you can say the same thing for the Warriors, right? You can say the same thing for the Warriors. But I'm going to do a 7 to 8 man. I'll do it. So we saw the Milwaukee Bucks in this season in the finals play 8 players, and they won the comp, right? So we're going to look at their roster, and we're going to look at their 8 players that I would say in their roster, and these 8 players I think are better than the Lakers' 8 players. So you've got Steph Curry, Clay, right, who we've recently talked about in the podcast before. I believe he's going to come back and he's going to be an asset to this team. Wiggins, you've got Draymond, you've got James Wiseman, you have Iguodala coming off the bench. He might not be your 6th man, but he'll come off your bench. You got Otto Porter, and then you've got, and who I think they'd play was Jonathan Kuminga. I really like him. I think he's a really good piece, right? So you've got 8 players there, and then let's look at the Lakers' 8 players. I would say right now, if they were to play a series and they're going to play eight players, right? You have LeBron, you have Westbrook, you have Horton-Tucker, you have Davis, right? You have Carmelo, that'd be obvious. You'd have, it gets hard. Like, it really does get hard. Kendrick Nunn, I would say most likely Dwight Howard, and then probably maybe Malik Beasley or Wayne Ellington. you know, I would take Ron Ellington more because they'd fit this team, but I take the Warriors right there. You know, and I always somehow end up talking about the Warriors on this pod, but like the Lakers are good, but they're not a great team. And until they show me that they can be a consistent steady 3-point team, if Russell Westbrook can shoot the three consistently, then I might change my mind. But right now, I think it's the Warriors to win. And then I would have the Lakers second. I'd have the Suns third, the Jazz fourth. The Mavericks, if they can pull off a trade and get Luka some help, then that would really change my opinion, because I think Luka's destined to be what Giannis is. You know, and if you want to hear my opinion on Luka a bit more, there's a couple episodes back you can hit in whatever you're listening to this on, what I think about Luka. Just pretty short, I think he's the next in line to be the next best player in the NBA. But that's pretty obvious right now if you've been following this podcast, my take on him. But yeah, no, I don't want to. But yeah, right now it's the Warriors and then the Lakers. And the main reason Warriors, they have chemistry, man. They have chemistry, and you can't knock that. You know, and Wiseman can be the biggest what if for this team, man. Wiseman can be such a massive threat to this team. It's not even funny. Like, he can just catapult this team into. I don't even know what he can put this team into, right? It's that crazy. It is honestly that crazy what he can put this team into. But yeah, no, for me, guys, the Lakers, very different, very interesting. They're a very interesting team. All right, guys, that's my take today. All right, if you guys think any different, let me know in the comments. Let me know. All right, in any of the reviews you want to leave me, anywhere you listen on. But apart from that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this stuff, and have a great day, guys. Take care. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Lanes Podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to all the content, but most importantly, have a great day.